Welcome to our explainer. Today, we're diving deep into the world of adult ADHD, and we'll be using Dr. Ari Tuckman's incredible book, More Attention, Less Deficit, as our guide. We're going to unpack what's really going on inside the ADHD brain, and, more importantly, how that knowledge can literally help you rewrite your own story.
Seriously, do you ever get that feeling? Like you're putting in double the effort of everyone around you, just to stay afloat, while they all seem to be just cruising. You know exactly where you want to go, but actually getting there feels like this constant, exhausting uphill battle.
So for years, maybe your whole life, you've probably been telling yourself or hearing from others to just focus or try harder. But here's the thing. What if the problem isn't your willpower at all? Dr. Tuckman makes this super clear. Desire is one thing, but it's often not enough when you're working with a brain that's just wired differently. This is not a character flaw. It's about your neurology.
Okay, so let's get into our first section here. Before we dig into the why of it all, let's just take a moment to talk about the what. All those daily frustrations that can make life feel so overwhelming.
So let's play a little game. See if any of this rings a bell. We're talking about the endless search for your keys or your phone. That project that's like 90% done, but just sits there unfinished. Or that restless, fidgety feeling you get even when you're supposed to be relaxing. Seeing it all listed out like this, it's often the first big step to realizing, wow, I'm not the only one. So if it's not a personal failing, what on earth is it? Well, the answer is in something scientists call our executive functions. The best way to think about it is like the CEO or the management team that's supposed to be running the show up in your brain. And really, this is what it all boils down to. Executive functions. They're the skills that let us plan things, get organized, and actually follow through. They're what help us say no to a distraction now for a bigger payoff later. For adults with ADHD, this internal management team can be a little inconsistent, which explains so many of those daily struggles. Now, to make this really click, Dr. Tuckman uses some fantastic analogies. First up, working memory. Think of it like the RAM on your computer. It holds on to information you need right now. But if your RAM is kind of blinky, you might forget what you walked into a room for, or you might make a decision without remembering all the key facts. And then there's sense of time. If your internal clock is ticking too softly, an entire hour can just evaporate in what feels like 5 minutes. That's how you get lost in one thing and totally blow off something else you were supposed to do. And then we have these two. Self-activation is just getting started. For the ADHD brain, starting a dull task can feel like pushing a massive boulder up a super steep hill. It's why so many of us procrastinate until the absolute terror of a deadline finally gives us that push. And persistence of effort, that's the home stretch. It's sticking with it when the initial excitement is gone. It's that last 10% of a project that feels absolutely impossible to finish.
So you've been living with all this stuff, maybe your whole life, probably blaming yourself for it all. And then a moment of pure, stunning clarity happens. The diagnosis. I love this phrase from Dr. Tuckman's book because it just nails the feeling perfectly. All of a sudden, a whole lifetime of confusing and frustrating moments, they just click into place. It is the ultimate aha moment. It's like your entire life story gets reframed through this new and honestly much more compassionate lens. This right here, this is the absolute core of it. A diagnosis isn't a label that says you're broken. It's an explanation. It finally lets you separate who you are from your symptoms. The struggles you had weren't because you were lazy or a bad person. It was because your brain was using a different set of tools to tackle the problem. And this is maybe the most important takeaway of all. An ADHD diagnosis isn't an excuse, it's a guide. It's the point where you get to stop asking, what is wrong with me? And you finally get to start asking, okay, so how does my brain work? And what strategies can I use that will work with it instead of fighting against it all the time? And that question, well, it leads us right into the most hopeful part of this whole explainer, the path forward. Because ADHD is a highly manageable condition, especially when you've got the right game plan. Dr. Tuckman lays out this really comprehensive 4-part model, and it's so powerful because you can see how all of the pieces fit together. Education, that's your foundation, just understanding the why. Medication can help level the playing field inside your brain. Coaching gives you those practical, real-world strategies. And therapy helps heal the emotional baggage from years of feeling like you were failing. It's not about one magic solution. It's about building a complete toolkit.
This is such a critical point. A pill is not going to magically organize your messy desk for you, right? But what it can do is quiet down all that internal noise and help you focus. It basically creates the right conditions in your brain so that the skills you're trying to learn, like time management or organization, finally have a chance to actually stick. It just gives your own effort a much better shot at success.
You know, there's still a lot of stigma around medication for ADHD, and the book has this brilliant analogy to help with that. Think about it. We would never, ever tell someone with diabetes that taking insulin is wimping out. Of course not. We get that it's a medical tool for a medical condition. Well, ADHD is no different. It is a neurobiological condition, and medication is a perfectly valid medical tool to help manage it.
So, does that mean medication is for everyone? Not at all. Dr. Tuckman basically says to look at it like an equation. Are the demands of your life greater than your ability to handle them? If your symptoms are causing you real problems and the strategies you're trying just aren't enough, medication might be what tips the scales in your favor. But hey, if you've already got great coping skills or you're in a less demanding situation, maybe you don't need it. It's a totally personal choice.
And at the end of the day, that's what this is all about. The goal isn't to fix you or to change who you are. It's about empowerment. It's about finally understanding your amazing, unique brain and building a life where you're not just getting by, but you're actually thriving because you have the right tools and the right support.
Getting a diagnosis, learning about ADHD, it's like someone finally handed you the owner's manual for your own brain. All that stuff in your past, it's not a source of shame anymore. It's just data. So the real question becomes, with this powerful new understanding, what are you going to build? What does the next chapter of your story look like?